have one new voice message. New message.
My dearest friend, this is Prophet Manasseh. The Lord begun to speak to me and told me some things that I have to tell you in person. This is why you need to meet me in Baltimore, Maryland, one night only on March 7th. I must anoint you with a special ointment, and I must speak this word in your ears. I'm telling you, you have to see me face to face. I've never felt this before in my life, but this is the first meeting of the year. You have to meet me on March 7th, that's Saturday, in Baltimore, Maryland. I'm about to pass the phone to my dear precious assistant, who's going to give you the number to call back so that you can get more information.
1, 3, 7, 9.
VIP registration. I have put aside a seat for you because you are one of those individuals that I must see on that day. Please hold as I pass the phone to my assistant and call that number immediately. I'm waiting to know, am I going to see you in Baltimore, Maryland?
The number to call is 1-203-0028. The number again is 1-800-203-0028. To be removed from this call list, please dial 1-800-4...
Oh, I don't want to know that. I don't want to get off that list.
Baltimore, Maryland.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the PC Perspective Podcast. This is episode, 336? Being recorded on February the 11th, 2015, rather. I'm Ryan Schraub.
I'm Jeremy Hallstrom.
I'm Prophet Manasseh.
And I'm Allyn Malvitano.
First one to register, prophetmanasseh.com. That's got to be taken, right? I mean, that's got to be a thing. That is a phone number that I've never used. That's a T-Mobile test SIM,
and it's a good thing.
And I bet I get 3 or 4 of those a month on that SIM card. So that's pretty exciting stuff. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is the official podcast. There are several unofficial ones, but this is the official podcast of the PC Perspective website. We review computers and shit. So, sometimes laptops, sometimes tablets, sometimes phones.
The stuff in computers and shit.
Monitors and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a thing. We do that. But we do record the show live as well, which many of you that are joining us now already know. PCPer.com/live is the place for that. Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. And if you want to sign up for our mailing list that we only use to let you know when we are about to do live streams, you go to PCPer.com.
Or the Prophet is.
Or if the Prophet, yes, he might get access to that too, especially if I go to Maryland and he anoints me with the special anointment
lubricants
oil. But if you go to PCPer.com/subscribe, you fill a little form that asks for your name, your email address, and send that in. And literally, that's all we use it for our PC Perspective and Prophet Manasseh live streams. So I think it's fairly safe. Subscribe.
I want to tune in to the Prophet Manasseh live stream.
I'm going to strap a GoPro to your head, and you're going to go to Baltimore, Maryland.
Yes.
It's going to be great.
I'm going to get one of those chest straps for it, and then
make sure it's one of the oil-proof ones.
No, you need one of those hats with the hidden camera that you can totally see the camera in, because it's a hat that no one would wear. It's a plain hat.
A shirt pocket spy camera as well.
Yep.
Yeah. Or have a briefcase that you always conspicuously point at the person you're talking at.
Big lens on the opening in front of it.
Oh, man. So, what the hell happened this week? Where did we end off? Let's see. First up, GTX 960 overclocking discussion. So, 2 weeks ago, some time ago, Tom was here and we did the GTX 960
giveaways.
I asked each individual winner, there were 10 of you, if I could use your graphics card for overclocking, testing, and comparison. Everybody replied with a yes. We have since shipped everybody's cards out, so you'll get them relatively soon if you haven't already. I've seen some people send us Twitter messages, and Ken's laughing at something. So what we did was we took the 13 graphics cards, because we had 10 from our winners and 3 other ones that had been sent to me already for review, and we put them through the overclocking tests that we do. We didn't do performance testing really or anything like that. We just basically wanted to see how high could we get these cards to overclock, and then what kind of the patterns and consistencies we saw. Real quick setup, we used EVGA's Precision X for all of the cards. I was told by all parties involved that will not affect the actual overclockability, for what we were going with. Here we go. If we look through all the video cards here, it's a nice tower of nope, that's Josh.
That's not a tower.
We've got 4 Asus GTX 960 Strix up top. We've got 5 EVGA GTX 960 SSCs and 4 MSI GTX 960 Gaming. Well, they're the exact same part. The green ones are the 100 ME editions.
So you plugged in your 12-way SLI bridge, right?
13.
13 way?
Yeah.
Oh.
Took several PCI bridge extenders. This is what we use. We use Precision X here. And all we really did for the overclocking was we took the voltage up to the highest it would go. That's never a problem. And then we started adjusting the GPU clock offset and then the memory clock offset until we ran into instability. And stability tests were run through 15 minutes of Metro last
Metro
looping, right? So it was the easiest to start and finish running, right, to test these, because we had to do a lot of testing on a lot of video cards. And the reason this was an interesting story, right, is not because we've never done overclocking of cards before. But it's very rarely. I don't think I've ever had 13 of the same GPU in the office at the same time. I may have had 13. I bet I may have had 13 like 660 Ti's. That sounds like a card we had a ton of. 750 Ti's, we had a lot of those at one point too. But never 13 and never all at the same time. So we wanted to give that a shot. So here is our first graph of results. Now what you're seeing here are the peak consistent clock rates, right? So this is, in fact, all these GPUs ran at these clock speeds continuously through the majority of a 15-minute window of game testing, right? So we scaled anywhere from 1501.
What's the base clock?
What is the base clock on this? 1253 is kind of your typical boost clock.
Okay.
For the pre-overclocked card, actually.
Right.
I think the regular boost clock, the reference is 1178.
Okay.
So that gives you an idea of where we're starting at. But the worst overclock we got was 1501 megahertz. It's consistent.
That's a pretty good gain.
Yep. And up to 1576. And you can kind of see we have this, the most common area looked like 1542, 1544, 1544, 1546. So you kind of know where you're at in terms of relative to a norm of some kind, at least of our 13 samples. Also worth pointing out, this blue line here, this line is representative of the maximum CPU temperature we saw during that 15-minute period as
GPU
well.
temp,
always. Yeah, sorry. It's always towards the end, obviously. And what you'll notice is the EVGA card, see how it spikes up there to like, I don't know, like 74, 75, 74. The EVGA cards were the ones running the hottest.
Huh.
And that's just based on the cooler they were using for whatever reason. Whereas the Asus and MSI cards were all kind of consistently in the 60 to 63 range. The EVGAs were like in the 70 to 75 range. But it never got above 75. And considering that if you look at the overclocking, the EVGA Precision X, the default GPU temp target is 80C. So we never even got close to that.
You never even hit the target.
Even at maximum overclock. And maximum voltage. So
you're fine either way.
75C is, I mean, it's higher than the other cards, but I don't think it's an issue to really be worried about. To be clear, let's see, the gap from the smallest to the largest overclock is 75 megahertz, which is, where's my math on this? I don't know, I must put it at the end now. We'll check on this again. But the gap of 75 megahertz from our lowest overclock to our highest overclock is not a very large percentage of
not really.
the overall clock speed.
Yeah.
Like it seemed to be pretty consistent based on what we were going at. And
5%.
Okay, there you go. And
Math is hard.
It is difficult for me. It's been a long day. I landed at the airport at 9:15 a.m., so give me a break. Please. What was I going to say now?
Ruined.
Yeah, I don't know. Josh ruined it. You ruined it.
I will anoint you with my special ointment.
Basically, I was going to say that it's very consistent. Oh, I will say that the 3 cards that I got in is kind of a side. Like, I got sent 3 cards for review, and we kind of kept track of those separately because we wanted to see if those were in the high end. Like, for the, the whole binning and giving the golden samples to review units and stuff. And actually, my Asus card is the one down here at the bottom that's 1504 megahertz. The one that they sent to me was 1504. Neither of these ones, I think one of the 1544s that was the MSI from ours. I don't remember the EVGA one, but it wasn't it weren't either of the highest 2 options. So that, at least in this case, everybody was honest and just took a random one from stock. Memory overclocking, much less interesting, ranged from 1927 to 2073 megahertz, which equates to the highest effective rate of 8.292 gigahertz, which is actually really awesome. when you think about it. Default is 6 on this. Is that right? No, 7. Is it 7 gigahertz? Is that the standard? 1753 times, so 7 gigahertz is the default. 1753 times 4. So, and we should point out, basically, if you look at these two graphs, the ones that had, these are actually in the same order as this graph above here. So the ones that had the highest GPU clock do not necessarily have anything to do with who has the highest memory clock speed. So keep that in mind as you go there. And then in terms of performance, you're looking at, I just ran with our highest overclocked model versus the standard Asus pre-overclocked SKU. And you can see we went from about 35.5 to 40 frames per second. Doesn't sound super great, but it is 12.9% increase in average frame rate, which goes along with the 12.2% GPU clock speed increase and 9.7% memory clock speed increase from the already pre-overclocked settings to the maximum overclock settings of that card. So, it was 5%. I did find it in my conclusion. I had done the math at some point, Josh.
At one point.
Yeah. So we know that if the median that we saw in 13 cards is 1,542 megahertz, I'm kind of curious to see how that matches up with a larger sample of people that have bought these cards and have overclocked them. Also, I like just seeing pictures like this of stacks of 14 identical video cards with the Woot Monkey sitting back there. With a GTX 980. Yeah, I don't know. Why does the Woot Monkey have a GTX 980? I don't know.
Because he
What
likes
is the
the best.
Boot Monkey doing to the GTX 980?
It might be in a compromising position. He didn't know he was being on. He didn't know he was being filmed.
Just
that
a little
day.
light spooning. I mean,
Yeah. Also, a couple of other weird things to note. The 1576 maximum boost clock that we saw is 33.7% faster than the typical boost clock rated at 1178 for reference cards. So the reference specifications from NVIDIA claim 1178. We were able to get 1576 out of one of these cards. A 33% increase in clock speed. That's a huge amount. It also makes me wonder why NVIDIA would consistently leave so much performance on the table. They claim it's always to give their partners room to differentiate amongst themselves.
That's a lot of...
Which is fine, but
I guess.
it's odd. Secondly, I don't know how to explain this. I saw an interesting phenomena, I'll just read it here, around the GPU clock offset, which is how you overclock these cards now. You don't actually set a target clock. You just kind of say offset by this much, right? And it kind of moves both the base and the boost up at the same time.
Right.
Even for the exact same graphics card models, for the 5 EVGA SSC cards, with the GPU offset of plus 90, the resulting peak boost clocks were 1544, 1558, 1519, 1533, and 1507. So even though I was, they were the exact same cards, I was setting plus 90 for all of them.
Right.
That the logic of, whatever is involved in like measuring the chip and how it performs and all that stuff. I mean, that's a pretty wide variance for what we would think they would. I would expect them all to kind of go up in step together. One would fall off before the other, but they didn't always do that. Well, clearly they didn't do that, right? They kind of. So if you're comparing your overclocks to your friend, what I'm telling you is, don't just quote the offset, because the offset's kind of useless. Well, I got a plus 90. Well, I got a plus 90. One of you got 1507 and one of you got 1558.
Yeah.
Was the resulting clock. So you need to use something like GPU-Z and record your clock speed, or just use, the monitoring of Precision X or something like that. And you can measure that way. So it does indicate to me that the GPU boost as a technology is doing something other than just kind of blanket changing settings. Like, it's attempting to monitor voltage and current and how much power is being drawn, and it varies on a chip-to-chip basis. So it's doing something. But, at the end of the day, the total net overclocking result for all these cards were fairly similar, I think. So thanks everybody who won those cards and then let me keep them for an extra 10 days or so to get through all that testing. But that was interesting, and hopefully maybe we can ride this wave and say when another card comes out, we could request a baker's dozen of those as well, even if just temporarily, to kind of get a good baseline for overclocking. At least that's the plan.
At least we know that they don't cherry pick samples.
Yeah, that was an interesting kind of just total sidebar thing. It was like,
it's not so much that they cherry pick; you're just not worth it for them to cherry pick you.
Oh.
Well, that makes me feel very sad.
Yeah.
I think I'm worth it.
I think pretty much very few of the SSD
think
samples that I get in have been like, pre-opened or anything. They're all factory sealed kind of.
Well, I mean,
cherry
everybody
pick
has
an
a shrink wrap
SSD.
machine.
Well, I mean, what I was saying to Ken the other day was like, I was kind of surprised that like they don't just like make sure it's not DOA. Like, if
Yeah,
it's-
I would
right?
I would appreciate that because when I get something that is
just
DOA, that's
make sure
frustrating.
like you don't have to sit there and do right to it and do all sorts of stuff to it. Just like make sure it works before you send it to reviewers, I guess, just in case. Like that would suck if you got like 4 SSDs from one company.
or
like,
just always send 3.
I guess of the same. That never happens.
Speaking of SSDs, we're going to move on now. Talk about a Plextor M6E Black Edition, 256 gig PCI Express SSD.
Yep.
This is a PCI Express SSD with a heatsink.
It is a snazzy flat black housing with a red heatsink on it.
It's got a matte black PCB on it too, actually.
Yeah, the PCB. I mean, it's a really nice looking SSD. Don't get me wrong. But the thing to remember is that is a plain M6E part. In other words, the M.2 SSD
Okay.
that Plextor makes. And then they
So
made
specifications are the same. then.
it's identical. It's the same exact. The part, the M.2 piece that's inside of all that snazzy looking housing is the same thing, right? And Plextor previously sold that in a PCIe version, but it had a green PCB, and you just saw the M.2 part just plugged into the board there.
Green PCBs are for the losers.
And I think in there it's still a green PCB if I remember right.
No, it's black.
Is that one black on the inside?
It's black on the back.
No. The M.2 part.
Oh.
Like
no,
the
it's
actual-
black.
Oh yeah.
So this
that was black.
this is the SSD here.
They
and then you have
basically-
the transposer or whatever here.
Interposer, whatever.
And then
you
you've
wanna
got
call it.
this massive heatsink.
It is way overkill since that SSD draws like 15 watts
Is
max.
that SSD overclocked, bro?
No.
There's also
Can you water cool it?
there's this. I mean, you can water cool anything.
If you keep looking, they also added some other stuff in addition to the heatsink.
What are those pads for? What are those?
I think those are
management
for
phases.
caps.
Can we just short them and see what happens?
No, that would be bad since I think they're parallel with the power supply from the motherboard.
So here's the other version.
Yeah.
And you notice that one difference you're about ready to point out, which is this
Yeah, they added a SATA power connector.
SATA power connector.
And
Got to power your storage.
I mean, they didn't even really have kind of an argument for it. I guess maybe, like I just asked their guy like right at CES. I was like, what's this really for? Like, do you really need this? It's the same SSD, right? Like you can't really turn up the power or anything. He's like, no, we wanted to add a SATA power connector. But I guess if you were doing maybe, like I would try to think maybe if you were doing 4-way SLI or something, but then you don't have any slots left to plug this into. Like, so that if you were worried that your PCIe power was really being drawn by
Yeah,
something else.
That would not be what I would think. Yeah.
Are those
Anyway.
traces even hooked up to anything?
No, it's in parallel. Like it will supply the SSD. Like I followed the traces. It goes to it. Like it's not a joke. It's
Well,
not something you really
does
need
it?
to use.
It doesn't have LEDs on the back.
It doesn't. They're on the top. They're on the top left.
Oh, that's
they're
right here.
Just surface mount instead
Oh,
of
okay.
pointing out the back.
Gotcha.
And one of those pictures has it like the card's lit up and it has kind of like cool, blue
Scroll
slash
back up.
green.
It was on the first page, I think. That's right here.
Yeah, that's one of the
Yeah,
pictures.
but go back to that page because there's the other cool feature that they added on the board.
Yeah, the thing that's probably the most useful on you can see it in that shot actually. In the lower right there is a small pin header. And that's for assuming that's your only SSD in the system or that your only storage device in the system, you can, if your chassis has a cable that can be split, you can connect your hard drive LED.
So your front panel case LED, like
Yeah.
hard drive light, would blink in time with this.
Yep.
Cool.
If only they had a BIOS battery next to that, as well as a secure erase jumper, that would be awesome.
It would be.
Would it?
True. But a BIOS battery wouldn't be enough to power the SSD.
We're so
for-
close
I know,
to our need of SSDs with lights.
Well, that's right. We did want that, didn't we?
We wanted it in SATA, but I mean, we could make it happen with this one. We could wire up some LEDs to
could.
that header, and
Yeah, it's
have
true.
some
You got that.
activity
You've got that SATA connector that
could.
you just go into those traces and just put like a row of LEDs in there.
Yeah. I mean, it already does glow from behind the heatsink.
Does it
as
do
it's running.
activity though?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it flashes. It is kind of like there's
they
always
listen to
some
us.
there's always some LEDs on though. Like I think the blue ones are always on, and like green ones
Yeah,
get added to it for
blue.
activity. It's kind of
They listen to us. Lights on SSDs.
Blue LEDs.
well, you know, it's,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's the future.
So what's
and it is blue, which is kind of annoying, but
Yeah.
it's also blocked mostly by the it's kind of
So it's
diffused by the heat
diffused
sink.
some. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's performance like then?
It is exactly
like the other
same
one?
as
Okay.
every other one we tested. That's the uneventful part of this. Is
Yeah.
like it's basically the same thing, right? So I kind of took this as an opportunity to throw in some other results because like last time when we tested the M6E, just the regular PCIe one, we were comparing to like OCC Revo and other PCIe SSDs, and this time I figured, well, let's just throw in some more just regular SATA stuff for people that are going from SATA to this. Right, as more just more points of comparison, and I even threw in a RAID 0 pair of Evo 850s, smaller Evo 850s,
right here, yeah.
just to show. And it's not necessarily double everywhere, right? Like in the fall copy test, for example, those Evos kind of just balance out with the rest of them and kind of mix in with the pack, right? But for fall creation, obviously the RAID 0 SATA is still faster than this, right? So this SSD, this Marvell controller, it's decent, but it's not really bottlenecked by even the PCIe 2-lane interface that it's using.
Gotcha.
Right. It's not really riding that bottleneck. It's actually a little bit slower.
So the black edition doesn't change performance.
No.
What it does change is looks and style and that kind of stuff. And
Yes.
power connectors.
That's it.
That's okay, sure, fine.
Yeah, and the other kind of
It's really the product they should come out with first.
they should have, and especially since it kind of looks bad on them now because they already had the PCIe version, which I'm assuming they're going to phase that guy out probably because
If the
like
pricing
why?
is the same, sure.
Well, it's kind of not like because that part had come down in price, not because the black launched necessarily, but it had just steadily come down in price since it launched. So we have updated prices on the last page, and I included just the regular PCIe version of the M6E in there, and it's still it's almost like the black launched at what the older PCIe one launched at when it first came out.
yeah.
Right.
See if these prices are the same still.
Yeah, it's like that was just a couple of days ago what those prices were, so I'm not sure
Yeah, they're the
how much
same.
they would have
It's on
changed.
pre-order.
Still on pre-order, so it's actually not even for sale yet.
Right,
Tomorrow,
right.
it
The pre-order is
says.
tomorrow.
Okay. Here's a picture of it, by the way, with the diffused LED.
Yeah, that's a
light
little
right
bit more
there.
of a from the
Front
side
angle.
look at it.
Looks pretty cool.
I mean, it does look really
That's
nice.
That's a sweet stock Intel heatsink you got there too, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Only the best.
Only the best for Alan's test bed.
Yes. So the where this puts you though is a couple of issues. The one big issue I actually had on the last PCIe one we talked about for this is they put a warranty void sticker on the screw to be able to get the heatsink off to be able to pull the M.2 part out of or off of this interposer adapter PCB.
You void your warranty if you wanted to install this in an M.2 slot on your board
Correct.
later.
So if you buy this because your system does not have M.2 and then later you upgrade your motherboard, you're stuck using this unless you want to void a 5-year warranty just to do what really should not be a warranty voidable thing. Right? You could buy
Yeah, I
the
agree with
M.2
that.
part from them
Yeah.
and that would have a warranty that's 5 years even if you installed that onto a motherboard, which is the exact same process you would be doing if you took this one off of that board and put it on your motherboard. So that part makes
That's
no sense to
dumb.
me.
Yeah.
And that's kind of frustrating. And the other thing, once you look at that and start thinking about, oh, well, now do I want to wait on this because I'm going to upgrade to this other motherboard later, look at the fact that there is like an $80 price difference at all 3 capacity points between
Yeah.
the base M.2 part.
Like the 256 gig M.2 is $220.
Yep.
And it's $300 for the black,
edition.
heatsink with the PCIe riser and all that stuff.
Right. So if
Yeah.
you're kind of on the fence about doing the motherboard upgrade, and you're also looking at this, take that $80 into
$215
consideration.
now. Went down $5 more.
Oh.
Keep refreshing.
Keep it fresh.
Yeah. So there you go. I mean, you could just take that $80 and put it towards your newer motherboard that had the M.2 slot on it, and just bought the cheaper SSD.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't look as snazzy, but you also wouldn't have that extra PCIe card installed anyway, right? You'd have a cleaner install overall.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So that review is over at PCPro.com as well if you want to check it out and see more pictures of the SSD Bling, as Alan puts it. Our last review, it was a shorter review week for us, comes from Lee, who posted the SilverStone Strider Gold ST1500 GS power supply. I guess that means it's a 1500 watt power supply. Oh, look, I was correct.
Arc welding.
It is 1500 watts in a compact 180 millimeter depth for, quote, easy integration. Fully modular.
I didn't even know you could do a 1500 watt gold. I thought it had to be more efficient than that.
I mean, only if you don't care.
No, but
I mean,
like...
the fan probably runs hot.
No, I'm not talking
more.
like to actually get that out of the US plugs.
Oh.
I thought it had to be more efficient than the gold standard. But apparently I'm wrong, so I'll shut up.
It does have a 1600 watt peak power output as well.
Even makes it more confusing for
Yeah.
US outlets.
Yeah.
Apparently my math is bad and I should feel bad.
Well, maybe the math is just changed. Come on, bro. It does have one of those cool, sad, frowny face power plugs.
14
Just looks
gauge.
More contact area.
Yeah, it just looks like a sad.
Is it a standard 10 amp plug on the other end? Like, does it plug into it? Or do you need a 15
Yeah.
amp?
No, it's a standard
Oh, okay.
3-pole.
I mean, at the rate that these things are going, eventually you're going to have these where they're going to have 15 amp.
120 amp total
Plug.
DC output. 1440
115 amps?
120 amps.
120 amps.
1440 watts over the 12 volt rails. So that's where you're.
What could you do with 120 amps, Alan?
That's got to be arc welding, man. It's just, I'm sorry.
You gotta stop saying that. It's lost all of its luster because you never did.
We just
any
need to
of
do it.
But you're not gonna.
I've got a welding shield. We can put one on the camera.
I
too.
do like. I like the finish they have here. It's kind I'm trying to find a picture that shows it really well, but it's kind of got like this cracked.
Oh.
What would you call that? Like almost like a blacktop style or
Plastic
like
dip.
plastic dip. It's not, but it's like
No,
it's shinier
it's
and
shiny but textured.
yeah. I don't know.
Have you seen how small Silverstone is making a lot of their power supplies now?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're just tiny. I mean, they're focused on making compact, fairly cool, still quiet.
I mean, the
they
inside
have
of this
a,
is really clean for 1500 watts. Like if you
Yeah.
just
Looks
Yep.
pretty small,
yeah,
Where
it
are the
does.
apps?
especially compared to our Corsair 1500 watt one. That's
Here they
true.
are.
I mean,
right
they've
here.
got
Oh,
a
okay.
550 watter that is honestly about the same size as this business card box that I never take any of my business cards out of. But yeah, it's like either a gold or a platinum 550 watts that is this big. It's just tiny,
Yeah.
and it goes in some of their special cases, if you know what I mean.
I
Silverstone.
know what you mean.
Oh yeah.
So if you want to go look at this review, he's got your efficiency curves here, so you can see on 115 volt line at what point. Looks like 750 watts is about its maybe like 850 is its most efficient point.
Yeah.
So make sure you use as much power as possible to get to 850 watts, so you can maintain its best efficiency possible.
Kind of wondering, like, where it's like, do you really even buy a power supply like this for
No.
now, like with the GPUs you're seeing from NVIDIA, where it's just like,
Well,
Well,
even
they
with
do,
more of
but you
them-
don't need it.
there could be 300 watt AMD processors.
Well, there are.
What if you
Yes.
want
I mean,
four
like-
of them?
Huh?
What if you want four of them?
do four
What
of
if you
them draw
just-
pretty
700
close.
watts? I guess. Yeah,
For
I guess
what?
that would put you in that sweet spot.
If you have, there's rumors of a single
4
GPU
980s.
300 watt part coming from AMD. So
Which we'll
then
talk
you-
about in.
then you definitely
yeah,
should.
short
we've
amount
got
of time.
a news section post about it here. So it does have only a 3-year warranty, which Lee chastises slightly,
and then it lights on fire.
but it can do 1600 watts for 12 seconds.
And then the warranty is void.
Well, I think after that it will
and then
just
the
crash.
fireworks start.
Yeah,
I would argue if you're the type of person buying a 1500 watt power supply, you're probably going to upgrade it in 3 years because you're crazy.
maybe.
I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, when the 2500 watts come out.
flat ribbon style cables. That's nice. It's a plus.
Hey, I have
But
a
you can
friend that
overclock for
had
12 seconds.
You did
had
get
a
a gold
PC
award, by the way. Sorry, go ahead, Josh.
He had a PC Power and Cooling that he bought in 2007, and it still runs today. It's one of the.
But that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying it won't
It's probably still
run.
under warranty.
I'm saying
No. I think that's just an aside. It's
Yeah.
pretty amazing that a PC Power and Cooling, which was bought by OCZ, is still running
It's because they had those loud ass fans that burn into my brain.
I had at one point those were the power supplies that powered my GPU test beds, and I had 2 running at the same time, one for AMD, one for NVIDIA.
Yeah.
And I think I still have one. I think I saved one of those in the closet back here just for posterity. So. We should start it up.
In case of emergency, pull out
in
PC
case of
power
emergency. Swinging around over your head and shot put it. What's that called where you spin around while you're holding the thing?
Hammer throw.
Hammer throw. Thank you. Yeah.
But no, I remember my first SLI power supply was the 510 watt PC power and cooling, and that thing was loud.
Yeah.
But it was
It wasn't PC power and silent.
No, it was not.
That was not the name of the company. Not at all.
Well, they did put out the Silencium, but that was a specific one you paid extra for without that.
Do you want a normal sounding power supply? Give me more dollars.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in a high-end unit, go check out that review. It just went up yesterday, the day before, from Lee. Now we're going to get into that rumored Radeon R9 300 series GPU. What do we know about this, Jeremy? Anything other than AMD used the words the 300 series on their own Facebook page?
Whoops.
It's true.
Because
one of their marketing
CPU
people, one of the few marketing people left, did actually say that they're putting finishing touches on the 300 series to make sure they live up to expectation. There's, of course, no date. We do know this was February 3rd that we read this. So it's, we don't know for sure, but hey, it's the internet, so we've got rumors. What they're figuring is it'll be Fiji XT, and they're guesstimating about 4,096 graphics cores, and it's going to have the stacks.
Put it in the chat. Yeah.
Josh, do you want to explain the stacks?
The stacks, the 2.5D interposer that are going to use, the stacked memory. Yeah, it's going to be kind of interesting. I think that there's enough evidence around that we kind of know what's going to be introduced. The question is this going to be Q2 or is it going to be early Q3? So anyway, they've got the GPU. They've created this what's called a silicon interposer, which connects the GPU to a substrate as well as the stacked memory modules that will be around the GPU. So a true 3D stack system will have the memory chips on top of the GPU. Everything is connected through vias to the die. But that's problematic for any kind of high-powered GPU because those memory stacks are going to be producing heat of their own, and they're going to act essentially as insulators. So the GPU is going to heat very, very quickly if you have a true stack solution in 3D. Now with the 2.5D, you have the silicon interposer that the GPU is mounted on, and then the memory is mounted on the side and around. But it's still a very high bandwidth that'll run very quickly. I imagine the GPU, the interposer will actually have a TDP of its own, but it's not going to be anything as compared to the GPU. So this is going to give them apparently somewhere between 500 and 650 gigabytes per second of memory throughput, which
compared
is
to
a
224 for the GTX 980 apparently.
Yes, yeah. So we're looking at double the memory performance, and I think some of the rumors that are coming out that it's going to be around 4 gigs in size, and they may actually have a secondary memory, more traditional type GDDR5 that will also be 2, 4, whatever gigs in size. But it's going to...
That didn't go over well when NVIDIA did that.
No, it didn't go over very well to have... But if I go over 4 gigs, you're going to the slower memory, and it's going to cause problems.
Yeah.
AMD would never do that.
Never.
No.
Never.
I want my 4 gigabytes.
Yes.
Plus extra memory.
Yeah. So they're the first to really be doing this in graphic. But we're not going to see that apparently until 2016. So AMD is getting a jump, but boy, it sounds like it's going to be a TDP monster, and we're talking 300 plus watts that this will require.
Finally, the power supply guys say.
Yes,
Finally.
yes. This will require the water cooling that we saw on the 295X2, and this will be for a single GPU. I think that there were some leaks of the kind of cooling system that we were expecting to see about 5 months ago.
Yeah, something like that. It's been a while.
Yeah. But
Basically, it looked like the
gonna be-
R9295X2 cooling design, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're
And
going to crossfire, you want an EATX board so you can get a little bit of space between them. That's going to be warm.
Yeah, but it's going to be probably very, very fast. I think 1.5 times that of a R9 290X, and you're going to be getting. It's going to be 4K playable with a single card in pretty good frame rates, and a price that won't be horrific. Well, of course, the 295X2 isn't that horrific of a price anymore.
I was gonna say it's
either,
only like
but
$700,
that's beside the point.
$650, something like that.
Yeah. So this is going to be an interesting thing. Now, what they're going to do with the rest of the group is there may be a respin of the Hawaii, which is
Oh,
with
boy.
R9 290X. That's going to go down to be the R9 380X.
Here's
I
the
think-
important question: will they
Let's hear it.
finally stop selling Tahiti after 4 years?
Tahiti is going to be gone because the 370X is going to be. It sounds
Tonga?
like it's going to be a fully featured Tonga, the Tonga XT, and then the 370 regular is going to be.
This seems to be AMD's new thing, right? They release one new GPU, and then rather than bring that same thing down to the family during that generation, as they depend on previous generation to kind of fill out the rest of the thing. They did that with Hawaii, only in the 290 and 290X, and then they depended on Tahiti and Tonga or whatever
Tahiti has been around for how long?
to fill out the
4
280s
years,
and
I think?
270s.
4
So
years
now they're
last
going to
month?
bring out Fiji on the 390s and then fill out the 380s and 370s with Hawaii.
Well, let's say in theory you didn't have a lot of money to put towards engineering of new GPUs. This is the way we'd rather them do it
Correct.
than to engineer like super low power or something. Because high-end GPUs are awesome, and we want them.
I worry about people's frustration about like they want new things, even if it's not necessarily better things. I think like if you look at the 970 and the 960, they're new things, and that's why they got a lot of excitement, even if they're not necessarily worlds faster than what it was already out there. And I think that's what happened with with the Tahiti parts is they're like, well, it's still a good performance for your dollar, but it's kind of old.
Yeah.
And
So paint some
Hawaii's
racing
been
stripes
out.
and put some speed holes in it, and away you go.
Yeah.
Hey, you know
Unfortunately.
what?
Put carbon fiber
Going
on
from
it.
the 7970.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yes.
To the R9 280, it actually kind of increased sales. It's a rebrand, but
Well, it was a
refreshed.
price drop that did it,
Yeah.
well, that too.
right? It's not like somebody said, "Ooh, 280X, that sounds fancier."
Yeah,
than
I'm sure some
279,
people
70."
did.
Maybe, but if it had been the same price, would they have done that? I doubt it.
Probably not, but still, it's you've got working silicon, you've
Yeah,
improved
it
the
sucks.
yields, you've got the component manufacturers lowering the price on the components that used to be high end, but now are going towards mid range. So you've got all these kind of economies of scale and improved yields and lower board costs. Why not? What's wrong with getting a $700 card a year and a half later for less than half the price?
Nothing. You're right. There's
Nothing.
zero wrong with that. So, hopefully, we'll hear more soon.
And also, since NVLink came up in their earnings today, apparently they already sold a data center full of them to the Department of Defense of GPUs with NVLink in them. That came out in their earnings.
Really?
Yeah.
We should have somebody pay attention to that shit.
Well, the GPUs don't exist yet. So I don't know.
Good old government boondoggles. Gotta love them.
Indeed. All right, handful of other things to get to here tonight. Corsair announces the H100i and the H80i GT and GTX. Wait, hold on. H100i GTX and H80i GT all-in-one liquid CPU coolers. We saw these at CES. Basically, some new industrial design. They've got this It's still got a light on the 880 H80i GT and the H100i GTX, but they've got this kind of like stripy thing, and then the silvery stripy thing on the side.
So technical
here as well.
Yeah.
They do claim
the block is actually different too. If you look on the flip side.
Oh, okay. Well,
I've seen a couple of reviews of them go up, and I mean, they're meant to replace the H80i and the H100i, and that's exactly what they do. Because the best thing about it is they came out at the same price point. These are the GT models. They're slightly improved. They're providing a bit better cooling. It's not, a huge generational jump, but it's a nice little performance jump, and they're selling them at the exact same price.
These are the ones that have the improved sleeving for the tubes. Thank you. It wasn't even accidental. I don't know why I was blanking on that. What did we say that they were lined with? And what was the purpose for it? We had a whole conversation with George about this.
Yeah, and it was
sleeving
cool.
itself.
I don't remember why.
Yeah, the sleeving itself.
Just like anti-chafing something?
It was, I think it was so it was more flexible to move around things.
So.
Oh, it probably had an inner liner that stops it from like kinking.
Right, and I think it also had something to do with preventing more of the evap out of it too. So
yeah,
interesting little bits there. Well, I think we sent some of these to Sebastian, who may or may not be testing them.
He's probably going to try to put ice in them or something.
Where do I put the dry ice in
system
here? Yeah.
I thought we were talking about Nutella.
No, that's
Nutella he was putting in?
That goes on the other
thermal
paste.
Yeah,
that's thermal paste. Yeah. Different place.
So what are these pricing at here? We're looking at $120 for the H100 and $99 for the H80 radiators there. So, yeah, I mean, I will say this, that even adding that little bit of Corsair branding on the side makes them look significantly nicer.
Yeah, at least there's something, right? Because you can see
the plain black.
Yeah, because you can see that part.
Yeah.
Like, especially if you have
If you
window
got a window
case.
or something.
Yeah. I mean, it's right there up against the window too. So previously you would just have like the black side of a radiator.
Speaking of Sebastian, somebody that would have no problem with this next story would be Sebastian. Apparently, there was a seller. This was reported by the Tech Report. Was selling fraudulent APUs.
But it was Amazon's fault.
Well, no, they were in the actual boxes, like the correct APU boxes, but somebody had changed the processor out inside the box. So instead of getting an A8 7600, they were getting like an old Athlon
64 5200, I think.
64 5200 or something like that.
An XP,
which doesn't have the same pin configuration.
No,
and
not
stuff.
No, it's a 939 pin product.
All
But like I said, Sebastian would have no problem with this because
he would make it fit.
You just make it fit.
But I think you should come clean and explain why it is you just got off the plane this morning, and how brilliant our break-in the UK was.
Oh, that's right. This was in the
us.
UK. I was going to make a joke about going to the Amazon warehouse down the road, but
here's the weird thing. Apparently, they had the right heat spreaders on them.
What?
Yeah.
Well, that's weird.
Oh yeah, no, like this was awful, and it was somebody who got a hold of them, popped the heat spreaders off, with or without killing them.
So even if you look at the top of it, you wouldn't be able to tell.
Yeah. It was the pinouts that they noticed.
Okay.
Oh yeah,
this doesn't fit.
They just scraped off they just etched the top with the correct number.
Well,
you don't have to have and
screen.
essentially the same heat spreaders from.
That's like high tech fraud right there.
Well, like they'd have to re-etch it, right? Because there's already a model number.
All you do is put some acid on it, and then re-etch.
I mean,
that's so much effort.
Chisel.
It's a lot of effort to steal
just acid.
How much does a 7800 cost? Like how much do these?
An A8 7600. Not even their highest
not the
end
high
APU.
end.
That's a lot of effort to steal sub $100 APUs. Like how many do you think they got? Like
7.
A couple hundred?
7.
Like
normally my answer would be 100, but that's not as
how
funny
are they
as
going to
7.
move them?
Yeah, I don't know.
AMD's have enough trouble moving them as it is.
That's true.
Ooh.
I mean, it's fair. What are you gonna do with a couple of hundred unmarked A8 7600Ks?
Well, obviously they have sold them already, and they've got the boxes
No, that's true.
And it's like, hey, we've got all these 5200s that we've never been able to sell.
They were upgrading their Bitcoin mining boxes.
Yeah.
There you go. But I mean, come on, we've seen this happen with Intel years back. I can remember the scams with the SSDs where someone would put a very strangely formatted flash drive on the inside the shell of an SSD.
Oh, that was a thing, yeah.
Like it was 256 gig, and it was actually a 16 gig flash drive.
That still happens. China.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'll change the firmware too, so it
Yeah.
reports to Windows as 256 gigs.
Oh, and you can actually
but when you
write
try
to
to
it.
write to it,
No, you
it
could.
stops.
You could write to it, but the really screwed up ones that were ingenious looped.
They just overwrote stuff.
Yeah, they just kept looping.
Writing.
Yeah,
I forgot that.
Yeah, so you could write to it all day long, but every time it just lapped around and just overwrote your old stuff.
We need to think of creative things like this. You know?
Scamming.
Yeah.
I think it was
the CPUs that were made of clay, the Intel, and then they just photocopied in color heat sinks, and then they just had it in clay.
This is way more high tech than the buy an Xbox, return a brick
yeah.
methodology that I had heard of.
Although that's a pretty good one.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got. Apparently, NVIDIA is planning an event at GDC that this is the teaser for, made to game. And you've got this thing with this green. Looks like it's either a laptop display opening or it's a box opening, and there's green light inside of it. It's very difficult to tell.
That looks kind of like.
But I did get this letter directly from Jensen himself. It was a letter from the CEO. He said he would like to invite me to attend a very special event.
You personally?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is he going to anoint you with the special ointment?
He needs to see me in Baltimore.
You have to come
Maryland.
down.
This is Prophet Jensen Huang.
This is unfortunate because this is only 4 days before Prophet Mufasa.
Prophet Tom
What's
Peterson?
his name? What's Prophet?
You're going to be doing a lot of flying.
I gotta go from GDC straight to Baltimore, Maryland.
Oh,
for
yeah.
that, you know.
In Baltimore, Maryland.
I bet Jensen goes with me. I bet I could convince him if I play him that message.
Bring Tom.
No. Tom beats
gotta
you.
bring
Tom's
Tom.
not. I gotta
worthy.
bring Jensen.
Okay.
Because clearly that's a scam, right? So you want a guy with a ton of money. So you want to bring Jensen with you.
All right.
Right? Who's gonna, have the cash to spend.
Yeah.
But he did invite me. He looks forward to seeing me there. And that's
NVIDIA
his
went
signature.
bankrupt.
It's not signed Jensen Wong. It's just signed Jensen, which is a little odd. Any guesses? I have my guesses of what this is going to be. The focus of GDC is kind of around DX12, but they say it's 5 years in the making. It's
could
made
kinda
to
be
game.
DX12.
It could be
It could
DX12,
yeah.
but they've already kind of talked about DX12. They've already announced that Maxwell supports DX12.
5 years in
It's
the
not like
making, 5
DX12
years
is
in the
coming
making.
out because Windows 10 isn't out.
Yeah.
Mobile G-Sync?
I mean, maybe
They've been working on this stuff,
That's possible.
I
yeah.
guess.
NVIDIA powered Steambox.
I mean, that logo thing kind of looks like the little
Looks like a
spiffy
backwards
NVIDIA
horizon logo.
specific boxes that you get your samples in sometimes, and like as you're opening it, it has the little green
Sure,
band
yeah.
around
It
the edge.
does.
It kind of looks like that.
Yeah,
Sure.
But what's that mean?
And they usually have, well, actually, they'll usually have Shield stuff in it.
or I mean, we got the 980s.
The 980s.
The
were
980s
in
came
that
in those,
box.
yeah. That's true too.
I happen to think, I believe it will be a Tegra, like either the Shield 2 or like a Shield console.
Okay.
Something
the
like
Shield
what Jeremy was
tablet
saying, like, maybe not a Steam box, but like
A set-top box.
it's some kind of set-top box powered by NVIDIA that you can stream your games to. They've already got Game Stream set up. All right, it works with Steam and it works with other stuff.
They
So
already have TV
Where it
mode.
works with Android,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah. Why do we call them set-top boxes anymore? Because you'd have to balance. Like,
Velcro.
yeah,
cable
the TV you
box
just got,
sound
like, it's like a razor edge on the top of it. Like, you're gonna
Oh yeah,
put anything on the top of
and
it.
they sent this invite out to like Android sites, so
Oh,
did
that's
they?
true.
probably Shield related.
Yeah.
Oh, really? They did that? Okay, I wasn't going to give that away because I know it's Tegra related. Because
Yeah,
of
no,
the person
like
who sent
Android
out the
Central and a couple of places got
Okay.
this invite and posted about
Yep.
it, so that's public knowledge.
Okay, so it's just
And they were
going
actually
to be, so
oddly
it's just going to be a
excited about it,
Shield console. Okay,
Okay.
done. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Thanks, NVIDIA, for ruining the surprise.
Oh,
Wah, wah.
I don't know what this story is. HDPLEX H5 is fanless with super pipes.
super pipes.
I thought only MSI could do super pipes.
Super.
Well, they spelled it the regular way, so that means it's not MSI.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, eh?
Supports CPUs with up to 90-watt TDP.
It's another one of
Potential
these-
performance for silent devices.
That's an interesting design.
It's another one of these fanless cases where the heat pipes are in the home theater PC case, and then it has a block that attaches.
Is it just me? Does that this
can
on the
you
right
connect-
looks like an MXM module? Does
Can you
that not
connect
look like
whatever heat pipes you want to that? It just comes apart, or is that just the design before it's like
The
made?
heat pipes are integrated into the case, and
Okay.
then the two pieces meet.
that? Oh, okay.
They may make loud noises in your case.
I see it. Here it is. Okay.
Anoint you with your ointment.
So you can see the heat pipes coming in along the top here.
Oh,
through
okay.
that, and then
Yeah, I think
integrating that
laptop
way.
design.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some cases that do this, but
But-
I mean,
but-
it's still
but
a really
that's-
cool idea.
Wasn't that very complicated because of the positioning of the CPU? Did they figure out something? This is the
Well, you
upcoming
see
chassis. not yet
the
pictured.
pipes go back and forth while touching the metal.
They
creating
touch the fins on
friction.
the side.
So you can put different boards in, and there's enough enough space. Look at the length of the pipes. Don't get excited, but you can move them back and forth to adjust the position, so you get the best penetration of the heat.
Yeah,
sink.
you have
And
the
if they don't
holes.
move very quickly, you should anoint them.
Yes.
Yes, it will
Special
anoint
oil.
them with the
Nutella.
with the low temperature fluid in the pipes.
Sure.
Anyway,
Now I'm a little,
Turned on?
scared. Well,
Here.
easy. Wasn't gonna go there, but probably.
He's excited.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, look at that. That's fantastic. Is that it? Is that all we got, really, Ken, on this list? I don't see anything else on the side there.
we're doing good.
It's gonna be a short
No, the site
show.
went down, so it's hard to put more up.
Oh, the site
Yeah.
went down?
Yeah.
That sucks.
NVIDIA made some money today.
Oh, yeah. Do you know anything about that?
It's what they made. What's
Dollars?
the numbers? 1.45 billion
Jeez.
for this quarter. No, revenue is 1.251 billion, which is the most they've ever made in a quarter. This is the most they ever made in a year. Their gross margin, something like 55.9%. I mean, that's something AMD would beg for because they're sitting at like 36%. Boy, 193 million net. I mean, they've done well. Like Ken was saying, they've sold some stuff to some government peoples, which like to overpay for everything that they get. New technology, Tegra sales still crappy, but boy, their graphics guys are just
Did they lose as much money
down.
on mobile as Intel does a quarter?
no, they have not. I think it's impossible for a company that makes 1.25 billion a quarter to lose as much as Intel did on their mobile. So yeah, it's they continue to do well. AMD flounders. And I'm going to be kind of curious to see what Q1 is like. They say it's going to be about 1.19 billion, I think. So it's going to be a decrease, but that's expected because Q4 is, of course, the holiday season, lots of money, and Q1 is everybody's tightening the drawstrings and not wanting to spend anything. So they've done good, and add-in graphics boards are not dying anytime soon because they sold a lot of them, and certainly the 970, 980
Hooah.
were big movers during
Really? I heard that
Q3 and
once.
Q4.
We can keep our jobs.
For another quarter. All right. Let's just jump into our hardware software picks of the week, everybody. I am going to select this phone. We got this in last week. I needed a review sample for this for some testing. This is the Samsung Galaxy Note 4 International version.
What's different?
The domestic version, US version, has a Qualcomm 805 in it, I think,
I believe.
SoC. The international version has the Samsung Exynos octa-core
Big plus little.
54, 35,
big plus
3
little.
here.
This is an A57 plus A53.
Is that a different camera because it's like sticking out the back?
No,
Or is that how all the Note 4s
I think that's
are?
all the Note 4s are.
Huh.
Everything else, I think, what else is different? There might be a different camera sensor on one, actually, now that you mention it, but I don't know exactly which
Well,
one
there's
this
a
has.
bigger camera on that thing.
Yeah, it's a pretty big bulge it's got there.
I fixed my camera bulge today on my phone.
So
Yeah.
this is Galaxy Note 4 SM N910C. So it's an unlocked international phone, which means it's expensive, right? $749.
And also completely different from the one I posted about.
It's not actually.
$895?
$749. $895 is the free value of Transcend SD memory card that you get. with it.
Damn.
You know, I just
Zoom
can't
out a
get.
bit.
I just can't get excited about those numbers.
What
Do not
numbers?
end in 99. It's
I can't see the price.
Zoom out.
Oh, I see. How about now?
There it is.
Sure.
$749.95. I just
It doesn't
loses
sound the same.
something.
It doesn't sound the same. So this is a 6-inch device. It has a stylus, which is, for something this small, you could probably consider to be pretty gimmicky. I did find a use for it. So I was at meetings this week, and I am really smart, and so I forgot my SD card for my regular camera. And so I was like, well, I have this with me. It's supposed to have a really nice camera on it, kind of like iPhone 6-ish.
Yeah.
Or so.
Same kind of sensor.
And so I was taking pictures with it. And then I noticed if you took this out, it pops up the thing where you can basically take a screen write or an image clip or an action memo, and you can just basically start writing on the picture. And it will save a separate copy of it. So, like, I would take a picture of some demo that I was watching.
And take notes.
And then
right
I
on
would
the
sit
picture.
there and ask questions about it, like what was the frequency, and I could take notes over it. And if I could, point to something and say, this is this specific model number of something.
Yeah.
And then you hit a button, you save it, and you could, do that.
Does
the
it
thing.
still save the image without the annotations on top?
It does. Yeah, you get both
okay.
versions of it. Yeah, you get both versions of it.
It's pretty cool.
So it's pretty cool because normally I would say that writing on something this small wouldn't be particularly
not that
useful.
small.
But that's a good style.
But I mean, it's still it's a big phone, but it's small for a pad of paper. Right?
True.
So like when I was testing, what was the machine I was testing? It was a 10-inch Lenovo tablet, right? That had an active stylus on it and stuff, and it was actually cool to take notes on in OneNote, and I had never actually done it before. So I actually did download OneNote on this, and you can access all your other notes. It's pretty cool. And otherwise, it's a very high performance phone too. But it is expensive because it is an unlocked version. It will work on T-Mobile and AT&T in the U.S. I just threw my T-Mobile SIM card in here to make sure it worked. And I guess I can turn off Wi-Fi here to make sure I actually get 4G or LTE on it as well. And so B&H sent this to us for a little loaner to do some testing with and review with. So I'm very curious. And it's still got TouchWiz. Ken was complaining about that earlier. I tend to not be as down on it because you can change it if you want, move things around. But I was a GS4 owner before that, was very happy with it, moved over to a Motorola Droid Turbo. Is that right? Yeah. And this is pretty nice. And I think the more I use this, the less daunting of a size it feels like. Because this is, if you compare these two, it's hard to do. But I mean, that's significant height difference in there.
Yeah.
But it was useful on the trip I was on. So I got no complaints, and so far so good. Screen is awesome
Yeah.
on it.
Is that
but
OLED?
It is OLED. Yep.
Yeah,
It's
super
pretty
vivid.
impressive.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome. So
It's 1440 too, isn't it?
yes, QHD. So we'll be doing some more testing with this, and you'll see this in several places throughout the website in the coming weeks. So I know it shocks people to hear about $750 phones, but I was also looking at an iPhone 6 Plus that was $850.
Yep.
And that also wants to make me like regurgitate just a little bit because of how expensive they are. But when you hear things about Samsung losing money and their profits decreasing, and then you go and have some meetings with people about the technology inside this, right? Inside these types of phones.
Yeah.
You start to realize there may actually be $600 worth of value
Actual stuff.
inside these devices. So that's unfortunate for people that want cheap stuff. Although I've got a Chinese website for you that has all the cheap phones you could ever want. Maybe that'll make that next week's hardware software pick.
Unfortunately, the insides are just a bunch of clay, but it's cheap.
As long as it boots Android, I don't care. That's fine.
Yeah. Athlon
Everything
XPs.
boots Android. It's the new Linux. You can
Yeah.
run it on a dead Badger.
Yeah.
All right, what do you got for me?
Well, I'm sad to say that the deal is much better down in the States. And I think we've mentioned this before, but the
Good for
XFX
us.
Double D R9 290X is $330. Or as Josh would say, $32,999.
So wait, we're looking at.
Unfortunately, in Canada, it's a wee bit more expensive.
Here it is in good old America.
That's because your money's all loony.
No, that's...
Mind you, when you take the current exchange rate into account, almost price parity.
Oh.
Unfortunately.
Well, I was gonna say, doesn't that make sense then? Isn't that kind of the purpose?
No. Then it doesn't work that way.
He wants a deal, Ryan. He wants a deal.
R9 290Xs for $329. I think I saw last week. I don't know if those rebates are gone, but you could get it. No. Can you get this for $300?
Yeah, wasn't it around like after rebate or something? $300.
Yeah. So yeah.
Still this ridiculously cheap price.
Actually, this rebate form expired January 31st, 2015.
I'll be too late.
Oh.
So there might. I think I saw some more that had later, like February 28th.
Well, no, last week we saw a couple of them too.
Yeah, so if you look hard, you can get a 290X for $300.
The 290X is dirt cheap. It might not be the double D every week, but shop around. You will be able to get one of these for significantly less than AMD should be selling them for, unfortunately.
And look, this one lights up.
Yeah, but when they rebrand it, they'll be able to increase the price.
Oh, no, they'll drop the price.
Oh, look, thank God I can zoom in on that.
Yeah,
All right.
handy.
Josh, what do you got?
I've been seeing this for about the past week. It's a game for $6.99 on Steam called Besiege. And you can build things to cause mayhem. And I linked Ken in the hip chat.
It sucks because I can't do that. That's
can't
Ryan's job.
He can't get it from there to there.
If you don't show my screen, I can go in there and get that link, maybe.
Here, why don't I put
No.
it in the...
It's fine. I got it.
chat.
The image gal, the imager thing.
The imager.
Yep. Okay. You want me
Does
to?
this one have fire?
This is bad news.
I don't.
There it is.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
The hair, the fire hair just makes. Oh, that's awesome.
And for the audio listening listeners,
Man of Steel, Woman of Kleenex.
All the audio listeners are now deaf.
The fire hair, man. That just makes it. It's like whipping the hair back and forth and everything.
It's like Minecraft for making giant weapons of war.
That's a weapon of war, all right.
In most.
this is ridiculous. I can't believe I allow this crap
It's
to happen.
ridiculous.
This is.
No, the saddest part is that's not the worst one I've seen.
Oh, it's not.
Apologize. I
There's some-
apologize.
I mean, they have
so you gonna tell me what this game is called?
Besiege.
Okay.
And
Clearly.
yeah, I mean, people make some amazing things
Yeah.
in there, and it's a puzzle game.
It's $8.
Yeah, $7.
Can somebody, if I pay $8 for this, will somebody send me the save file? Of that
You want
particular-
that? You want that one scene?
You can share them. You can share the build files.
Come on, we can build a much better one ourselves.
Allyn.
I mean, I've seen some others that just drop me to the ground. That they're just so imaginative, so hilarious. It's just wrong, but great.
Oh.
All right, Allyn, your turn.
So, I wanted a radar detector because I hadn't had one in a while,
Yeah.
or like
Because you like to not follow
15
the
years
law.
or something. And so I was shopping around, and it turns out, like, because I like tweaking things, the kind of line of work that we do, right? Well, there's this one called Escort Redline, and if you go to like some of these radar detector test websites, or if you're looking around for these things, there's like companies that will sell them with like a special version that's like, oh, this is our super sensitive version or our extended range version or whatever, right? Turns out all they're doing is just opening the box and changing the settings that are changeable.
They're dip
And then,
switches.
no, they're just from the front. You just go through the menu and just change, not even dip switches. There's
They're opening their retail box.
Yeah, they open the retail box,
Changing the settings,
and just
okay.
turn it on, power it up, and change some settings, and then turn it off, put it back in the box, and send it to the person. And they're charging extra money for this, when really, if you just know what the settings are, you just change it yourself. But what the settings do is just make it more responsive and kind of weed out the other frequencies that are typically not used.
Why wouldn't they just
for-
ship it like this?
Well, because you really want it to scan everything to try to cover everywhere that you are, everywhere in the States, for example, everywhere that you could be, because some radars use specific frequencies. But like the most commonly used bands are like Ka bands 2, 5, and 8 or something like that out of 10, right? So if you reduce from 10 down to 3, the detector does not have to sweep through
But
all the way. All the
then
channels,
what's
right?
the point if you're not detecting everything?
Because the commonly used police radars only operate on those 3 bands, for example.
Yeah, but
Right.
what if it's operating on another band?
It could be. Yes, you're right. You're right. They could be. But like seriously, like all of the police radars are like.
Then why do they
2,
ship
5,
it
and
with
8.
10 bands?
In case like new ones come out, whatever, that kind of thing. But there's
And they might
forums.
switch the radar detector band.
So here's the other thing.
Because
You
of this, I would only recommend that you use band segmentation once you're intimately familiar with the radar guns operated in the areas you drive.
Right. And so there's some forums that you can Google around for and look, and there's like one forum that has like an
So you
awesome...
have to fill out a form before you're intimate with your radio
No.
detector?
Forum.
There's a forum where people just report what bands are in their area.
How about
And
you just don't break the law, Alan?
It's good to know.
How about you
have,
just
like...
drive the speed limit and you don't have to worry about your radar
You can
detector?
save $500.
Listen here,
It's
Mr.
true.
Corvette owner.
And I
drives
don't.
it at-
And I
Who has
it's-
never ever gone over the speed limit?
And if I did,
Never got a speeding ticket.
that's true. I'd never had a speeding ticket.
Well, I'm
Not once in
I'm
my life.
going for the same
Neither have I.
purpose by having a radar detector.
Geez,
Anyway.
either of you are living.
Yeah. So actually, this same detector, you can, if you just look at the instructions, you can put it in a mode where it tells you like what frequency it's actually hitting on. So you can drive around for a week or two with this, see what frequencies do come in, and then you can weed your bands down to those specific ones, like local to your area.
but
right?
but does this product tell you when the tread on your tires is non-existent?
It does not.
No,
it does not.
That's what we've been doing at the office for the
That
past
is what
year.
Ken and Ryan have been doing.
I did
for
post that
weeks.
picture in our hip chat room, right?
Yes,
Literally,
yes,
literally since you moved here, we've been telling you to get new
Since
tires.
I moved here, I pretty much moved here with bald
So
tires.
nothing like
and-
February 11th to really get that done. Huh?
Yeah. Hey, listen,
Nice.
when it snowed the other day, I had so much fun in the parking lot with ice.
You
And
could do that with regular tires.
no,
True.
it's so
Can't
much more
confirm.
fun with bald tires. Like the car just spins so
All
much
right,
faster.
so Alan's recommendation is to break the law and to be illegal when you drive. So thanks for setting us up.
guess?
Josh's was robots banging.
Siege weapons, bang.
Siege
It's a whole
weapons
different.
banging.
That's
yeah.
a whole new echelon
It's a
of
whole
banging.
and Alan's is to break the law.
Well, somehow I think those siege weapons were breaking the law somewhere.
What about my pick?
Yeah, Ken's got
Oh,
a pick.
okay. Alan has his pick here. Oh, this is Prophet Manasa?
He's got it. That's it.
ProphetManasa.com.
If you scroll down, it has the event listed.
Oh, March 7th, the prophetic release.
The ointment.
What was that phrase for the voicemail?
Release the ointment.
What
I
was
will anoint you with a special ointment.
anoint you with the ointment, and you that you will have
Oh, my
the release.
The Hilton. Oh, it's at the Hilton.
Ooh.
Baltimore. Okay.
Oh man.
You can go there and feel the prophet's touch.
Why do I have to go? I can just buy the DVD here about how to find my anointing. Is a sensational DVD teaching that is sure to help anchor your mind, body, and spirit. Prophet Manasseh Jordan takes you on a journey to enlightenment using his basic principles from the Bible. He didn't give me his last name on the phone message, though, did he?
He didn't
He
need
just
to.
Prophet Manasseh.
Itinerary.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Event, the prophetic release. That's it. That's
He's
all he's got.
he's got it
That's-
planned.
I think if you Google that, you'll get something way different.
Yeah.
Not only
The prophetic
you'll
release,
get the
yeah.
you'll get the siege thing,
Especially
again
with safe search
the-
off.
Can we make
Yeah.
donations? Let's make donations. Your seed faith gift makes it possible for
What?
Prophet Manasseh to take the
Seed?
life
Is this a joke?
worker. I don't know. It's not.
If it's this funny, it can't be.
It's not. It can't be.
This is too. Is he
got- he's-
playing
he's
on
got a real
people's
P.O. box.
like sexual tension or something? I mean, to get them to give him
He's a
money.
good-looking dude in that picture. I'll say that.
Stop being so perverted.
He's already
Alan. This
sucking
is
Ryan
serious
in.
business.
Dude.
He's probably like 23 years old. He's been preaching since he was 8.
Well, where when
Their
another
their
when
goal
another
is to empower orphans through the power of faith.
when another man anointed him with the ointment.
I don't know. we gave this guy too much screen time, so
Way too much.
We're gonna move on, which I guess means we're moving on to the end of the show. Kind of a short week here, guys. Not a whole lot going on. We should definitely have between now and GDC plenty of stuff to review and get through on a daily, day-to-day basis. Make sure you're checking out PCPer.com. We're gonna have a lot of stuff going up over the next 14 to 21 days, I guess. When the hell is March? Not that long, right? 3 weeks?
I don't know.
I'll be gone again in 3
I mean,
weeks.
it's already 2015, so
Yeah.
2015 is already almost a third of the way through.
Yep.
Think about
I
that.
think you're skipping the
Quarter of the way. I'm sorry. Almost a quarter of the way through. We're all a little bit closer
to death.
to death. I was going to say 2016, but to death is also true. I mean, every minute that passes is one of those. Don't forget, guys, PCPer.com/podcast. If you want to subscribe to this stupid show, you can find the RSS files there. You can also find links to our YouTube videos, or you can just go to youtube.com/PCPer. And then, of course, PCPer.com/subscribe if you want to be on our mailing list, where we tell you about our live streaming events that we host here, including this show and sometimes others. We're going to try to ramp up that live side now that we can do multiple camera angles. We don't know what we're going to do with that yet, but now we have that capability. Oh man, constant shot of Josh in picture.
Josh Tech.
Oh, yeah.
no.
Constant photo, animated GIF of Josh.
Josh
Maybe-
Tech on
maybe-
auto refresh.
Maybe I'll just play Besiege during the.
It could be entertaining. We might be able to make that happen. All right, guys. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. I'm Ryan Shrout.
Jeremy Hellstrom.
Josh Walrath.
Alan Malentano.
Bye.
Not the Prophet Manasseh.
Eh.